Hotspur and Norwich City, and also was a Northern Ireland international as well, so it's an absolute pleasure to have him with ourselves. I think we can see we're right in the bang of the Easter holidays, you know, so we have a lot that are heading away for the weekends, and it's obviously affected the numbers, but for us it's going to be in the room today, and for David filming some of this, it's going to be golden information that we're going to enjoy to hear. So without further ado, we'll pass over to Paul.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for that one clap. Yeah, thanks for that one clap. That's a nice starting point. It's obviously early on a Saturday morning. It's nice and awake, get across this. Yeah, exactly what Tim said. To give you a little bit of a background, the first thing I'd probably say is, because it is kind of quite a small group, because it's such a mixture in a group, you know, sometimes it normally make it quite kind of formal, where generally with a big team or a professional team, so I'd like to try and make it as much of a kind of formal arrangement, but just because this is obviously Saturday morning before Easter, obviously a complete range of people in the room, some into football or soccer, some playing it, some can't really remember what it's like to play Robbie anymore, can you? Slightly. A few years ago since you picked the ball around? Okay. So we'll have such a massive range of people in the room, so I just think it might give me a chance almost to explore a few different things of what I want to talk about, but ultimately the whole session, and we'll probably be here for no more than about, I'd say 55 minutes, if that's okay, before we have a bit of a kind of little chat afterwards. But effectively the next kind of 55, 60 minutes is all going to be on a high performing mind. So let's get cracked on to what we're going to talk about. I just generally put this photograph up, and the only reason why I put this up is, and this is good that they're, by the way, what part of America are you from? Who's the Americans in the room? Okay, brilliant. So let me speak to this half of the room. Which part of America are we talking? All the same place or different places?
In Mexico and Texas.
Okay, two slightly different places. A little bit of a distance in between. Okay, so New Mexico and Texas. And sorry, what was that?
They're right next to each other.
Okay, right next to each other. But you're right next to each other, and our right next to each other. It's like probably about 1,000 miles, 1,000 kilometre difference. Anyway, the reason why I put this photograph up is because in the last sort of 12 months, I've done 3 speaking tours around America, and you would never believe whenever I stand up and speak. So I did a tour in America, did like 14 sessions in 14 days across 7 states. It was mental. It was crazy trying to get from one part of America to the other, 2 layover flights to get to another. Really, really different. Anyway, the whole point is I got to put up this photograph because for some reason, whenever I start speaking and people are going, why's he got that little strange accent? Now when I'm in Belfast, that's fine because everybody understands me here. As soon as I go probably about 500 yards outside of Belfast, people have no idea what I'm saying. So it's brilliant that this half of the room, a couple of boys in the corner, can understand me. And I'm guessing this sort of half of the room are still possibly trying to work out what I'm saying. Anyway, the whole point of putting that photograph up is for some reason, people don't necessarily know where I'm from. I don't know how you can't work this out, but apparently that's what happened. So I'll give you an example. So I had, as Tim said, I had 6 years at Tottenham Hotspur. You've all heard of Tottenham Hotspur, right? Okay, so it was at Tottenham Hotspur. I left Tottenham Hotspur to go and join a team called Norwich City. So I just walked into a little, it's almost like, so over here was a WH Smith. For the Americans in the room, it's like a kind of Barnes and Noble. So I walked in to just buying something mundane, like some ink from a computer. Just went up to the girl behind the lady behind the desk and said, oh, can I buy this ink? And she sort of just looked at me with this kind of, it's almost like a sympathetic face, and was like, a long way from home. So I'm in Norwich City, which is in England. It's like 500 miles from Belfast. I sort of looked at her and thought, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Could be quite a long way from home for someone from Norwich. And I was like, yeah, so I was like, yeah, can I pay for this? And she goes, let me guess. And just sort of like pointed with this kind of knowing smile and went, let me guess, Ohio? And at that point I was like going, how can you possibly think I'm from Ohio? So I had to put up photographs for people to understand exactly where I'm from. Didn't want to make her feel bad. I was like, close, Mississippi. So anyway, let's get on. So the whole point is, obviously I'm from here. It's great when this is the first time I've ever worked in Belfast, Tim. How good's that? Oh. First time ever, so appreciate you asking me across. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today, and we're not going to go into too much detail, just really, it's all around mental performance, it's all around psychology, it's all around kind of the different aspect of performance, and football and soccer is really what a lot of people don't really think about. So as you can see in that second paragraph, I'm asking pretty much everyone in the room today to have an open mind for what we're going to discuss and what we're going to talk about now. What do you think I mean by having an open mind before you even start the session? What do you think? Think outside the box? Yeah? Possibly. Anything else? What do you think I mean by whenever I'm asking you to have an open mind before anything that we discuss in the next kind of 45, 50 minutes? Everyone can get involved in this. Happy. It doesn't have to be just some people in the middle.
I guess whatever you're going to tell us might not match what we're already expecting, so we have to listen to whatever it is you're going to say and be ready to
That's pretty much
take
hit.
that on board.
That's pretty much hit the nail on the head. Sometimes there might be some parts of the next kind of session where I might say something, or I might suggest something, or I might encourage or advise something, and some people or some person in the room might be sitting there thinking, don't really agree with that, or that's a load of rubbish, Paul. That's complete nonsense that you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. I get that on a regular basis. So, but all I would say is that I would like to try and ask you at least to say, let's have an open mind. So I've been involved in professional football for 25 years. I've had a bit of a kind of playing background, which was really enjoyable. I've now been working as a sports psychologist with Norwich City and Crystal Palace for the last 7 or 8 years. I've also just in the last couple of months, I've just finished my master's in sports psychology. So again, not trying to say that to impress you in any way, just really to impress upon you that I've had a bit of experience of doing this, and I've shared this with a lot of players, from Premier League players through to youngsters like yourself. So all I would say is just have an open mind with what I'm going to share. Okay, so I would love to play some of these goals. The only thing is the sound's not working, so as usual, IT difficulty. So I'll play just a little bit of it, just to give you a little bit of a flavour of some of the goals that I've scored, but actually when you listen to it with no sound, it doesn't have anywhere near the same impact. But anyway, for any Man United fans in the room? Okay. Okay, the first goal was against Man United at Old Trafford in the Premier League. So I just wanted to show you that.
That's your best goal.
So it's such a shame when you don't have the music. And yeah, as Roy Keane tried to get across there and just couldn't. Please excuse the hairstyle. That was actually really fashionable at the time. You obviously have heard of David Beckham, because David Beckham in that year had the same hairstyle. So anyway, the only reason why I'm showing you this, and I'll probably get the whole point of showing you the video of what I'm trying to do, is because when I was a youngster, and you'll see in one of the goals that's coming up here, of exactly the example of what I want to talk about after. This is a little bit like it. So this is something similar I'm going to talk about. This is similar but on the opposite wing, because I used to play on the left hand side of midfield, or left wing, occasionally on the right. This is similar to the goal I want to talk about. Does anyone know Peter Crouch? He used to play for England and Spurs and Liverpool and all the rest of it. See the size difference? Doesn't he fit in the video because he's too big? That's only just to impress the youngsters in the room, because sometimes the nutmeg is better than scoring a goal for youngsters. This is where I'm going to stop the video, just so I can show and explain what I'm doing here. So just have an idea of exactly what the kind of goal I'm scoring is. Okay, right. So before we get to that, okay, so did anyone see, in terms of, even though that wasn't all of the goals I've scored over the years, it was just like a selection, but because I was highlighting it for you, did anyone recognise the type of goal that I kept referring to there?
Outside the box.
So it was outside of the box, then what did I do?
Curved it.
And what did I do?
You curved it in.
I curved it in from where?
An angle.
Yeah, from the left hand side of the 18-yard box into where?
Opposite corner.
Top right hand corner. So at least one person in the room was at least paying attention, right? No. So that's exactly what was happening. That's exactly the session and the goal that I'm talking about. So what I want to give you an example of is, so how old are you guys? Because you look like kind of sort of the older ones in the room. You three?
23, 16, 16, and 16.
Okay. So that's right. So at least you're all in that kind of ballpark range. So whenever I left, Sorry, did I say something funny?
No.
Asking your age?
He's not
What's it?
23.
He's
He's
not 15.
He's not 23.
I believed you that he was 23.
He's not 23. He's
I was going to ask him.
21.
I was going to ask him to go up and get my pint afterwards because clearly he's the only one in the room that has ID.
Holy,
drink it on
He's
his
not
own.
15.
He's
Stand up, come here, come on to the front. Come to the front. Come on, back up. Hey man, come to the front.
Give him a big
Round of applause, give him a round of applause. Round of applause. Yay. Right. So, what's your name? How tall are you? 6 foot 2. And what age are you? No, honestly.
15.
He's not fit. No, seriously. Did I have to put the lie detector on you? 15.
He's not 15.
His birthday's in December.
He's 18. He's 18.
15
I don't
December
know.
he
This
was.
is my good, right? Okay, you can sit down because this is embarrassing. Whenever I He's like my hero. Anyone who can over 5 foot 2 literally is my hero. Anyway, so the whole point is, and probably only 2 people in this room knew me when I was 16. Obviously, Paul and Robbie. So whenever I was a 16-year-old in my life, this is just to give you a little kind of insight in the kind of 16-year-old I was. I definitely wasn't your height. I was even smaller than I am now. And I pretty much just always wanted to be a professional footballer. Now, it's brilliant because I have a man in the room, Robbie Walker, who actually was the scout that brought me across to Spurs as a 11-year-old, 12-year-old, all the way to 16-year-old until he'd had enough of me and tried to get me out of the country, get me across to England. But the whole point was, as a 16-year-old, all I wanted to do was be a professional footballer. So I just had such a clear, I just want to be a professional footballer, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was having conversation on the phone with with my dad one Sunday night. So I'm just chatting away, and my dad, who is this morning actually, he's away, he's a keen golfer. Not very good, but he's keen at it. And so he's away playing golf this morning. At the time, he was playing golf, and you must have heard of Jack Nicklaus, one of the best golfers ever. Okay. So he said to me, he goes, Paul, there's this golfer called Jack Nicklaus, best golfer ever. He does this thing called visualization before every single golf shot. Now, anyone in the room ever heard of visualization? And just get a quick show of hands. Okay, so a couple of people in the room. Okay, so let me explain what it was. All he said, and this is having a conversation with my dad on the phone. My dad said, Jack Nicklaus, the best golfer in the world, all he does is before he has his shot, he tries to run through a little movie in his mind of what he wants to do. So before he has his shot, before he physically plays a shot, he imagines where he wants the ball to go. Okay? So I said, okay, that makes sense. He said, surely you could do the same thing for football. And I thought, and going back to the very first slide, remember when I said having an open mind? I probably didn't realise this at the time, but I did have an open mind. So when my dad suggested, oh, why don't you try this visualisation? I thought, why not? It's not going to hurt me, probably could help me. I'm just going to give it a try. So I said, right, can you send it across? So he sent me across this cassette. Do you know what a cassette? Anyway, it's a bit like you know, like streaming on Netflix or something like a Spotify, a bit like your version of streaming on Spotify. So he sent me across this thing where it just gave me like step 1, step 2, step 3. Anyway, all I did, so please excuse me turning my back on you, but this is a little example of what I used to do when I get up in the morning. So I'd be living in England before I'm going to train in Tottenham Hotspur. I'd go in, have my breakfast, come back in my bedroom, and I'd be sitting on the edge of my bed. So I'd be sitting on the edge of my bed, and I would start visualising the goal that I wanted to score. So I would start at Tottenham Hotspur. Who knows where Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is called? Don't know it. Any of the English or Irish people in the room can give us a...
White Hart Lane.
Thank you very much. So White Hart Lane. So I imagined I'm a 16-year-old, in my bedroom, imagining or visualising playing for Tottenham Hotspur, playing for the first team at White Hart Lane in front of 35,000 people against the Liverpool or Man United. So all I would imagine is, in my mind, I'm in the full outfit or the jersey or the kit, and I would imagine getting the ball on the left-hand side of the field. So it's a bit like, imagine if I'm on the left-hand side of midfield, that is where the goal is. I'm imagining picking the ball up here. So again, remember, I'm on my bed, sitting in the bed, and I start imagining the ball getting played to me, coming up against the defender, cutting in on my right-hand side, and then curling it in the far top corner. Okay? Some people might think this is really sad for a 16-year-old to be sitting on their bed imagining scoring goals. But that's the kind of kid that I was, right? So I'd be sitting on my bed, and I would imagine what I would do. I'd pick the ball up on the left-hand side, cut in on the edge of the box, and then curl it in the far top corner, okay? So, not only did I do that, I then go to training, turn up at training, have the morning training session, come and have lunch, and then I do is go and grab, say, 15, 20 balls, bring them out onto the edge of the 18-yard box, and then physically practice curling it into the top corner. So I hit the ball, get it out of my feet, try and curl it in the top corner. Keep doing it, keep doing it. So a little question, whenever I was doing it in my mind, how many times do you think I scored a goal? How many times do you think I put it into the top corner in percentage terms? 100% of the time. So every time I was doing it in my mind, I was scoring 100% of the time. When I was doing it physically, trying to put it in the top corner, what percentage do you think I was hitting the top corner? Oh, I was better than 5%. You haven't seen me play.
You haven't seen him.
Oh,
It's on 5.
So, okay, it was slightly more than 5%, but it was probably, it wasn't 100%, it wasn't 5%, somewhere in the middle. But the whole point is, in my mind, I could nail it every single time because I was in control of it. Because obviously it's not the easiest skill in the world, cutting it and curling in the top corner. It took practice, it took repetition, it took dedication. And I started off, and it might have been 50% of the time, but by the end of it, and as you can see, by the end of a career, I can show you a little 2-minute YouTube video, and as you went through the rest of the video, you'd see me curling more in, that the percentage was getting higher and higher and higher. So, the whole point of that rambling, the whole point of that scenario, giving you all that information, is to be able to ask you this question. Because I was a 16-year-old boy, and I sat on the edge of my bed, and I was practicing this visualization, is that the reason, is that the only reason why now, as a 40-year-old man, I know I look 14, but I'm actually 40, as a 40-year-old man, what? You think I'm
You're 20.
20? Brilliant, you'll do me. Good stuff, right? As a 40-year-old man, I just showed you a 2-minute video clip. Is that the reason why I scored those goals curling into the top corner? So, you've got 3 different options. So the question is, as a 16-year-old boy, I practiced it, visualized it, and then practiced it on the pitch. As a 40-year-old man, I'm now trying to understand what was the reason why that happened. So, got 3 different options. If you think, yes, Paul, because you practiced that visualization and you practiced it on the pitch, that's the reason why you scored those goals. You can show it in the video. If some of the Americans in the room just have a, I've been looking at you but I can't really understand a word you're saying, you're probably in this camp. Or if you're in this camp, it's Paul, just because you practiced doesn't necessarily mean that's the reason why you scored. So, I want to try and find out. A little straw poll. Okay, so who's in yes, Paul? Because you visualised and practiced it, that's the reason why you scored the goals. Please raise your hand. Oh, that's a big yes. That's nearly like 95%. Okay. Anyone in the middle of just like staring, can't really understand anything I'm saying? Brilliant. Probably because there's more people from Belfast in the room. And who's in the no, Paul? Just because you visualised doesn't necessarily mean that's why you scored a goal. Anyone brave enough to put their hand up for that? Are you?
No.
You sure?
That was 95%.
Okay. Okay. Well, actually, that 95% is actually 100% because there's no one in the other 2 camps. Okay, so I want some reasons, I want some rationale, I want some understand why you think that's the case. Who can explain why they think, yep, because you did that, that's the reason why you can show me that video. I want some audience participation, this is called. Don't all shout at once, it's okay.
Well, you had a focus
Yes, go on.
on what you wanted to do,
Mhm.
where you wanted to be,
Yep,
and you probably had a time limit and where you were going to do with it.
yep.
So,
You think that's the reason why, because I did this, that's the reason why I scored those goals?
I think because the need was so great for you to become what you wanted to become.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a great starting point for the
But like they
discussion.
say, practice makes perfect.
Okay, yep. And again, repetition, just trying to improve the skills. Yep. Anyone else got any other thoughts on it? Yes.
You're trying to tune your brain to become almost on autopilot, so when you get into that situation, you know immediately what you have to do rather than just rely on the skill of the moment to do it. Your brain's programmed almost to just react the right way.
Okay. And again, I should also as well, just because obviously this is so informal, because we've got such a small group, if there's any stage you want to take any notes of this or make any recordings, I would get your phone out. What's your last name, Colin? I would get your phone out. I would take photographs of anything that might be something you want to take away with you from this. Hopefully if the guys are recording some of this, you might be able to get some screenshots. I'll just show you something really quickly that I wasn't going to show you, but just off, sorry, what's your name? Sorry?
Richard?
Richard, just what Richard was talking about there. It's almost the process of learning a skill. So there's 4, hopefully you might be able to read this from the back. I'll try and make it big enough. So there's basically 4 steps of learning a skill, as far as we know, anyway, from psychology. So we have what's called conscious and competence. And apologies for my writing. I know I write like a 6-year-old sometimes. But anyway. So the whole point is conscious and competence, and just for speed, I'm just going to, as you can see there, so we just call this conscious competence. Okay. So there's 4 different steps of learning the skill. So as you say, I wanted to go from, I've never really done this apart from a couple of times as a 11, 12, 13-year-old, but I wanted to make it really, really drilled, really, really almost so deeply ingrained in my mind, but also in my muscle memory. So the first step of learning the skill is what we call unconscious in competence. Okay? And the easiest way to remember that is you don't know that you don't know. So that's sort of simple way. You don't know, you're unconsciously aware that you don't know how to do it. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I don't know, let's say a little baby has a 6-month-old baby who's trying to learn how to tie a shoelace. As a 6-month-old baby, this 6-month-old baby has absolutely no idea that they don't know how to tie a shoelace. Does that make sense? I don't want to complicate things, but I'm just trying to get it as simple as possible. Okay? The next stage is now you have conscious in confidence. So the second stage of learning a skill is once a 6-month-old baby suddenly gets to, say, 3 or 4, and the mum keeps teaching it and trying to, this is how you tie a lace, and it keeps doing it over and over until eventually the 6-month-old baby is a 2 or 3-year-old kid, and it suddenly realizes that he consciously doesn't know how to do it. So he's consciously not very good at it. Until we get to this third stage, which is consciously competent, where they've practiced it so many times, they practice it, but they have to really focus hard on it. They get this stage where they're consciously competent, until the very last stage is they're unconsciously competent, which effectively means they don't even realize that they're good at it. They just come down, run down the stairs, grab their shoes on, tie the laces, run out the door. So they get to this stage where they have not realized they don't know how to tie a shoelace until suddenly they're so good at it they don't even think about tying a shoelace, which is what you're talking about, Richard, where I want to get to the point where if I cut in on the right hand side, I'm going to curve it, and I'm not even thinking about it. It just happens so automatically. What we call is just automaticity. Okay, so the whole point is I was doing that. Paul's saying I have loads of time, I have almost like a time frame that I want to try and learn it because I'm focusing on trying to be the best player. Personally, I don't think the reason why I scored those goals was just down because I practiced this. This is only my opinion, and obviously we could probably debate this for longer. I actually think, yes, I had to practice it, but then I had to go away and I'd have to do my physical work, I'd have to do the gym work, I'd have to do all of the other skills that are involved, and over a 20-year period, it's probably, and this is only my opinion, it's probably not just down to the mental side of it. It probably has a whole load of other reasons what are going to impact it, but it might not be down to that. But again, I've just done my master's, that sort of helped me understand the skill, how to break down learning the skill, how to improve, how to get it from the conscious part of your brain to the subconscious or the unconscious. But the question is, do you have to have a master's, or do you have to have a degree, or do you have to have an A-level or a GCSE in sports psychology to do visualization? No. That was a very fast shake of the head. Absolutely no, you do not. Could every single player, person, anyone in this room do visualization before the next practice, training, match, competition, if they wanted to? 100%. And this is the simplest way that I can almost open the door to start improving the mental side of your game, or the mental side of performance, or just really engage in the psychology of how good it is and how beneficial it is. Now, as I said, I don't know whether it was 100% down to the fact that I did it, or 2%. I don't really know. All I know is I did it, and I kept doing it for a long time, probably season after season after season. And I only wish I had someone who had said, do you know what, Paul? It sort of looks like you've got that scenario. You've got it where you cut in from the left-hand side, curl it in the top corner. That's good. Why don't you try a different scenario? Why don't you try on the right-hand side? Why don't you try picking it up from the centre circle? But I didn't have anyone to advise me on this, so I was sort of working it out by myself. Now we have so much information. Where can you get all your information from? YouTube, Google. So many websites to learn all this information. So something as simple as visualization, I believe, has a huge amount of impact, not only on my career, but could potentially have it on yours. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Good stuff. Right, so let's get on to the next part. Okay. So I normally put this photograph up just because it's, well, there's a couple of reasons. One is because clearly it shows my really fashionable hairstyle at the time. And if anyone didn't remember that David Beckham did have this hairstyle, so it was in fashion at one stage in the history of the world. And you know, David Beckham, Paul McVeigh, fashionistas, fashion icon. Anyway. Okay, so I don't know if you can read in the writing at the top of the screen. It's in the red. It says, okay, so he's a lot older now, but can you name the player with the terrible hairstyle? Who is it?
Paul.
What? You mean Cristiano? It's supposed to be Cristiano Ronaldo we're talking about here. You said, oh, I can't believe. So you think I have terrible hairstyle? Now look at Cristiano's those.
Yeah, but
these little
he's like the
single
best in the world, so it doesn't really matter.
I know, it's okay. Okay. And the funny thing is, you know, since we left Old Trafford on that day, I do feel like I've had very similar careers, you know. Anyway, okay, so
Played against him?
No,
no, I just photoshopped that in that photograph.
Exactly.
He is.
You did?
I just need to take a moment. Sorry. Someone explain.
Visualization there, visualization.
Can you explain to him what that actually means? When
I want to try working with him.
a photo.
So
Okay.
you did Photoshop it, right?
Yeah, Photoshop.
There's no way you could hold off.
Did you Photoshop that hairstyle on this morning as well?
There's no way you could hold off.
Okay, so just to give you some sort of clarification, and for all the Doubting Thomases, very appropriate this weekend. Doubting Thomases this weekend of whether I played against Cristiano Ronaldo. This is in 2004. What year were you born?
I was 2.
Oh. Okay, so this is when you were 2. This is in the Premier League at Old Trafford against which team?
And United.
Oh, very good. Okay, yes, against Manchester United. Do you remember the first goal on the video that I showed you? That was me scoring against it.
Did y'all win or lose that game?
Doesn't matter about the results. Let's move swiftly on from that. Yes.
Did he take the ball away from you? Right now?
No, he didn't. Can you not see the ball's not in the shot? But where do you think the ball is? It's like one of those. It's like the Pools coupon where you have to try and guess where the ball was and you can take it off. Where do you
So
think?
you're just grabbing him?
Where do you think the ball is in that photograph?
Next to his legs, probably.
Next to his leg.
No, I think it was coming at you.
Where do you think?
Or maybe he's just nutmegged you.
No, from
It's actually
It looks like
technically,
it looks like you've had a heavy touch.
He's strong.
the ball is just on the left-hand side. So anyway, the whole point is to show on this photograph for many, many reasons. The first one is because the first person that's ever asked me is it photoshopped. So that's just something I'm going to log for every session I ever do going forward. Is this wee guy from America? Who's Belfast?
Was he fast?
And the other, we're having the question and answer again. Okay, so the whole point of showing this photo is A, get a bit of laughter in the room. B, to sort of take a mickey out of myself because I was so stylish with my hairstyle. C, to give me some sort of credibility because the photo isn't photoshopped and it actually did happen. It is a real photograph, and apparently if you play at Old Trafford in the Premier League against Cristiano Ronaldo, it does give you a bit of a, oh, that's quite nice. But that's all it is, just to do that. But actually, because I'm coming from a psychology, mental performance, kind of improving, learning how to get better point of view, I'm only putting that photograph up so I can ask you one question. So, before I actually get to that question, if I were to say, I'm not even going to ask you the question, but I'm going to give you two answers. I'm not even going to give you both the answers. If the question that I'm not going to ask you, if one of the answers is Cristiano Ronaldo, what is the other option?
Paul McVeigh.
No.
Messi.
Very good. Smartest one in the room. So the question that I haven't asked you, one of the answers is Cristiano Ronaldo, and the other answer is
Messi.
Who's the
Messi.
best in the world?
Who's the best in the world? You can have a little. You can keep a little slow. Okay, just because you're a bit slower than you want. Okay. Anyway, so the whole point is.
Slower. Let's
And I
not go
haven't seen
down
him
that
run.
road. Don't, let's not go down
And
that.
I haven't seen you run yet. Is he carrying a
There's
caravan
his
behind him?
dad. There's his dad over there, and he's quicker.
So the whole point is, before we get to the Ronaldo question, I just want to get a bit of where you're at. So if I ask you the question, who do you think is the best player in the world? Some people might say Cristiano Ronaldo. Some people might say Lionel Messi. So if you're in the Cristiano Ronaldo camp, put your hand up. Oh, only about 7, 8 people in the room. If you're in the Lionel Messi camp, put your hand up. Okay. Is there anyone else? Anybody else wants to throw into the equation, or are we just going to say those two? Just
George
those two?
Best. Where's George Best?
George Best.
Where's
Yeah,
George Best?
slightly different era. Anyway, so that's the point. So let me ask this question. So that's 2004. Again, just testing your trivia, really. Anyone know how much Cristiano Ronaldo was bought for at Manchester United in 2004?
50 million.
How much?
50.
No, stay.
Seven,
Any idea?
17 was it?
No, it was a bit much. Lower than 17 million.
15.
Probably, I think it was about 12 million. I think it was somewhere between 10 and 12 million is what Cristiano Ronaldo was bought for. So, the whole point is, in 2004, whenever Cristiano Ronaldo, what age was it?
2000. No.
When he was in
He's probably
2004.
20.
He was about 18. It was his first season at Manchester United. I think he was 18. I think he was bought for about 12 million pounds. The question is, was Cristiano Ronaldo, it's easy for me to say, was Cristiano Ronaldo in the top 2 best players in the world
No.
in 2004?
No.
Messi was the.
Yeah, he arrived on the scene yet. In 2004, was Cristiano Ronaldo in the top 10 best players in the world?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No. Okay.
Top 20.
Although it's all debatable and it's all opinion, it's all conjecture, so we'll decide whether we want to get an answer. Was Cristiano Ronaldo in 2004, if I had 50 fingers on each hand, in the top 100 players in the world in 2004? What do you think?
Yes.
No.
Maybe.
No.
Probably not.
20 minutes, well.
Probably not. And again, it's only opinion, but I would just say, and some of the people in the room who might have saw him in those years would probably say, in 2004, he probably wasn't. I'll give you an example. Because in that game, you're talking about, was he fast, did he do nutmegs, did he do all these things? Do you know what he did a lot in that game, actually?
Pass.
No?
Push.
No.
Shoot.
He'd get the ball, and he'd do you call them like step overs or rabonas or whatever you want to call them?
Yeah.
Whatever the phrase is. So you come out, you do that, you step over, and then go and chip it, and it'd go in behind the goal. And then walk away. And then you have Ruud van Nistelrooy in the pitch going, right, put the ball in the box. Anyway, so next time you get it, you run, step over, check back again, cross, and it'd go out for a throw in. And Van Nistelrooy's going, what are you doing? Just put the ball in first time. So this kept happening, time after time. Eventually, you get substituted. That was it. So, my point is, in 2004, if he's not in the top 2, not in the top 10, not the top 100 players in the world, and whether you agree now whether he's the best or second best, we could have that debate later. How does he go from 2004 being outside the top 100 players in the world to this in 2018? Either he's the best or he's the second best. How does that happen?
Coaching.
So I'm gonna make a little note of these. So how does he go? How does Cristiano Ronaldo go from being, if he's not the best player in the world, possibly second best? In 2004 he's way outside the top 100 to 2018 he's right at the very top. How does that happen? So you said
Practicing.
practice. So let's get that on the board. Practice. What did you say? I think one of you said something else.
Easy.
Go on.
He said coaching.
Coaching. Yeah. Okay. Coaching. Absolutely. What else do you think he was?
Confidence. Confidence.
Confident. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's get confidence on there. What else? Yes.
Experience.
Experience. Absolutely. Go on. Keaton Common. What else do you think it was? Anyone?
Self-motivated.
Motivation.
Or
Yeah.
self-motivated.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll put motivation on there. It's all in the same category. Keep it coming. What else? What was the reason? How does he go from being this player as an 18-year-old to this player winning everything?
Desire.
Desire. Thanks, Paul. Anything else?
Passion.
Passion. Yeah.
Money.
Money. Why did money affect it?
Because he wants to get more money, so gotta be better.
So is it money that's the reason why he did it, or was money possibly the motivation?
Motivation.
Okay. So what else?
Say maybe teammates as well.
Teammates, people he's playing with. Yeah.
Nutrition.
So we'll call that probably better players then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nutrition.
Nutrition. So yeah, diet. Let's go back up because my knees aren't keeping down there. Anything else? Why can he go from this in 2004 to this in 2018? What else do you reckon? Because obviously it's all just what we think as opposed to what we know. Anything else you want to add in there?
Support. Support.
Support, yeah. And I would probably put just as the last part.
Sir
is-
Alex as well, I think.
Say?
Sir Alex.
Sir Alex, well, we'll put that under the coaching because that probably all comes into all of that. I'd probably put mindset in there as well. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So, considering I've asked you a question, how does Ronaldo go from this to that in 2014 or 2004, 2018? Can anyone come up with a common link or a common thread that appears through all of the different answers, generally, that you've given? Can anyone come up with what could be like a common thread?
They all
Coaching.
physically.
Oh, what was that?
Mental.
Who said that? Back. Round of applause, please. I thought you'd fallen asleep as well there because you hadn't contributed for ages. Generally, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally, there's confidence, there's experience, there's motivation, there's desire, there's passion, there's mindset. Even the diet is a choice of what you put in, so it's your mindset of what you want to use as a diet. But probably the majority of the reason of why Ronaldo's gone from that to that is probably to do with this.
The brain.
The brain. And again, this is where I don't really care what you call it. I don't care whether you call it your brain, your mindset, your psychology, your mentality, your attitude. It doesn't really matter. All I would say is it's everything that's happening in here. Okay, so we've got about 20 minutes left. So I want to just sort of rush through a couple of little things that I probably won't have time for today. This is quite good. So, does anyone remember in the European Championships in 2016 that England were knocked out of the European Championships? Anyone remember that game? Okay. So, can anyone tell me, or Robbie, can you tell me, who England lost to in the European Championships? Iceland. And what was the score? Testing you. I don't remember.
2-0.
2-1.
2-1. I was going to say 2-1.
Okay. Okay. So England lost to Iceland. Does anyone know how big Iceland? And we're not talking about Iceland just around the corner. Although they weren't far away from being the size of Iceland around the corner. Anyone know how many people live in Iceland?
100,000.
300,000. 300,000 people live in Iceland. How many people are in Belfast these days?
But
But the
Half a million?
same.
might.
Million?
But the same.
Half, is
It's
it
the
not?
same. Somewhere
Not
in
Belfast,
So it's
no.
basically like
Belfast.
England. It's like England
Belfast.
playing Belfast. That's sort of what it's like. England playing Belfast in the European Championship. So this is a little something called the four corners of performance. It's what the English FA have decided that when they want to develop their players, they want to develop them across all of these different areas. So obviously, I'll just run through quickly what that is. So you've got the technical side, obviously very simple, how you pass, how you kick it, how you control it. The physical side, your speed, your strength, your fitness, agility, etc. Social is really just pretty much everything you do when you're not practicing or playing, and sort of what time you go to bed, all that kind of stuff. And psychological, the easiest way to describe it is what's going on in there. Okay, so my question to everyone in the room is, England lose to Iceland in the European Championships 2016. What percentage for each of those four corners was the reason why Iceland beat England? So, I'm going to put technical and tactical together in this same area. I'm going to put psychological up here. I'm going to put physical down here. And I'm going to put social down here. Okay, so, and this is where, and this is really where I put myself out, because this is where someone needs to help me out. I would like someone from the room to come up to the front, take the marker off me, take the pen off me, and go over to the board and give me 4 different percentages of why Iceland beat England in the European Championships in 2016. So it's not a maths test. If you do need any help on the mathematics, we've got plenty of clever people in the room, can help you on the maths, but it's not a maths test. It's more to say, if I say, what's the reason in percentages? If you said, do you know what, Paul? Because of the way the Iceland team were set up, it's all completely even. It's 25% technical, 25% psychological, 25% physical, or 25% social. It was all completely even. That's the reason why Iceland beat England. Or someone in the room might be sitting there thinking, actually, Paul, the reason why Iceland beat England was purely because the Icelandic players' athleticism. It was just their physicality. So it's 100% physical, 0, 0, 0. Does that make sense? Or something in between. And this is where it gets a little bit awkward, because I go to sit down, I'm waiting for something to come up and take the pen, and if no one comes up, then it gets really awkward, because I'm sitting here for ages and no one actually moves. And then the session doesn't go any past, and we're sitting here for 15 minutes. Hey, and then, oh, you get up, you get up. Hey! I just, oh, Tim's coming up instead. You're lucky, you gotta get out of jail. Give me a round of applause, please, anyway.
I haven't written the numbers yet, so
yeah, well, yeah, this is just actually going up. So
they all have to add up to 100.
They have to add up to 100, absolutely. Oh, so you're going, that's a bold step for 0.
Bold step.
For
If you're
0.
telling me that the Iceland players are better than England players, then
absolutely. And this is where it's not just I don't want percentages, I also want the rationale of why you think that's the case.
Yeah.
So you've got 100% left between 3 different corners. Where are you going to go?
I'm actually going to,
That's physical, that bottom one.
Physical.
And psychological, stop right.
again, I'm going to be bold again.
Oh, it's gone 0. I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
I've never seen 2
Thinks he's
zeros.
playing actually Uzi. That's a problem.
Psychologically.
100.
Well, at least we've got another
Yeah.
another opinion over here. Okay,
Okay.
psychological 75, which leaves you social with
25.
Very good. Got good mathematicians in the room. Okay, can you give me your rationale of why you think that, please?
Well, I think I'll do socially first, because that's a slightly lower one.
Go on.
I think in England, the kids, like, and I suppose the same as the States as well, there's just so much going on, from computer games, which is the big one.
Yeah.
So I think from social elements of things take kids' attention too much. You know, when they're getting into teenage age, it's all of a sudden maybe then girls, jobs, things. So I think from English mentality, the social thing will play a part. Psychological for me is huge. I think the pressure that the English team are under the Winter World Cup, I mean, I think it just starts, like, you know, it'll start now about them winning in Russia, and they're making excuses that might not travel because of Putin, so that might take a wee bit of pressure off them. But I think every World Cup they go, and you know, when you look at those England teams, they just underperform every time, and I think the huge pressure that they're under from the English media, and I just don't think they're mentally strong enough.
Okay.
So when the going gets tough, they sometimes either run out of ideas or just up here gets them.
Okay.
So that's why I went so high there.
Okay. And the other 2, why do you go 0, 0?
0 in here?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, you look at some of the players that they have in that England national team over the years, technically and tactically, definitely for me, the
Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard.
I think for me, from a personal point of view, I think England are the only nation I know that actually tried to force a position for Scholes instead of saying let's build a team around him. Because I think England's had one of the best midfielders since Gaza in Scholes, and they haven't accommodated him. But I suppose that'd be a different topic. But
brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Round of applause, please. Pip.
Right hand over the
You hand it over to, I think we need one more person, so you can stand up there instead of me being awkward at the front. For who's the next person to come up
Anybody
Go on, Tom.
confident?
give
Have a
us some
go.
more percentages.
Go on.
Oh, yeah,
I'll massage it for you in
Alright,
there.
hey, what? Javier, do you want to go?
Javier, yeah. Go on, Javier.
Good peer pressure.
Go on, Javier.
Peer pressure.
Javier, come on, you're a director of football. Get up your arse. Come on. Come on.
We need to utilize all the knowledge in the room. Round of applause, please. Thank you very much. So what's the name? Javier? You say?
Javier.
Javier. So just write your percentages anywhere else around the four
so-
corners.
Why Iceland beat England?
Yeah, why did Iceland beat England? Massive upset in the European Championship. A country that only has 300,000 people, which means they've got about 35 professional players in the whole country, versus a team that has got millions of pounds of resources.
We had an Icelandic coach over with us
Oh,
for
really?
a couple of days there. Iceman. Tiro, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good dancer.
Good
Wasn't he? And drinker.
Go on. So give us what's 4 percentages. You can start off with one, and then we can help you with the others if you need it. So that's 25% in the physical. Is that right?
Physical.
Okay. Yep. So that leaves you 75% between the other three.
Say 25,
Okay. So again, that's 50% left.
25 physically.
Oh, so you've come up with the one that I used earlier as an example, which leaves you 25 for social. You can change your answer. Are you happy to go with 25? It's your call.
Yeah, I'll go with
Just go
25.
with 25. Okay. And again, probably the figures are less important as opposed to the reason why you went for them.
I just don't think that Iceland is going to be technically stronger than England. I mean,
Yeah.
think about all the players that play for England. So
Absolutely.
technically, I don't think they're going to outmatch them there. Socially and physically, I don't think they can outmatch them there. Or psychologically, I mean, but maybe physically. Maybe in that match it was physical,
Okay.
more physical. Maybe England had didn't have a strong psychological break. It could be the weather, where they were playing, atmosphere, whatever it might be, travel. So mentally maybe they weren't there.
Yeah.
In that. The conditions maybe just weren't right. Something just absolutely went wrong there. And maybe just in here physically, in the physical area, maybe Iceland just came out with more of a drive, more of a hunger,
Okay.
and that just overpowered everything else.
Okay. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Okay. I would like one of the young players to come up, if that's okay.
Oh, who are you going to give it to, Javier? You've got the power.
Ah, yes, come on, man. Let's go. Because I think I heard you say one of the percentages was quite high for one corner. Oh. Oh.
No.
Oh. He's going 100%.
Yeah.
Psychological. 0, 0, 0. Okay. So go on. So that's easy. So it's easy to put it up in, and then I'd like to know why you've come out with just 100% psychological.
Because,
What?
Iceland, never even heard of Iceland until like this conversation.
Yeah.
They suck, obviously, and all the rest. But they must have been like, I think, because England, right, they were thinking, oh, we're going to kill this team,
Yeah.
right? And then Iceland came out, and they just came out and won. Like that.
Brilliant. Round of applause. Grab a seat. Well done. Okay. So the funny thing is, and we've only got about kind of 10-15 minutes to go. The funny thing is, there's absolutely no right answer. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. All it is it's a bit like an A-level question. You just go and discuss it. If I were to give my opinion, I would probably say it might be somewhere around 70%, 10%, 10%, and 10%. But that's only my opinion. And the reason why I would think it is just purely because physically, the English players are supreme athletes. They are tested within an inch of their life all through the season. They're playing at the best clubs. They produce the best stats week in, week out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be playing in the Premier League. So physically, they're as good, if not better. Technically, tactically, they can't tell me that, as Tim said, any of the Icelandic players would get in the England team, possibly Sigurdsson, but even him, maybe not. Socially, the England players, okay, you might say they're under pressure, you might say that, you know, that maybe weren't in the right place, but these are players who are playing in front of 50, 60, 70,000, 80 people every single week in Champions League quarterfinals, in Champions League finals, in league deciders, in FA Cups. They're used to playing in big games, high pressure, high performance, do it all the time.
Well, me
Yes.
and Tim were discussing that the socialite bit
Yes.
of it. In terms of the England camp, we were thinking of the press, the pressure the press put them under, the pressure that the players are put under,
Yeah.
the scrutinisation of the players.
Yeah.
We were thinking that that had maybe a part.
And it probably is a part, Paul, and the only reason why I said is, do you think the pressure only happens, so let me give an example. Rashford, best young player coming through at United. Do you think when he turns up at England, do you think there's any more pressure to play for England than there is to play for Man United every week?
No, I wouldn't think so. No.
I think it's just the guys are used to it.
But,
Harry Kane, when he's gone out to play,
yeah.
he's expected to score a goal every single week now.
But I think when the media turn against them, I think that's when the problem kicks in. Then the pressure comes on, and then you get the dip in form and stuff.
Probably does, and also that's also dependent on the individual, of how the individual deals. Some players might not read the papers. I'm sure they're on social media, etc., but they might not. The whole point is, Paul, what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
these guys are so used to this. It's their life. They're getting hit constantly, whether it's social media, papers, radio, TV. You know, they get scrutinised every week on Match of the Day. This isn't new to them. Playing against Iceland, it's just what they do. Bread and butter. Anyway, the whole point is, when it comes to the psychological aspect, I think that is where the Iceland players were like, we probably have nothing to lose, so felt very free, nothing to lose, they're going to go for it. The England players probably felt, we have to win this game because we're expected to win, and clearly they didn't deal with it well enough. Now, why that happens is a whole other session. All we're saying that probably, and again it's a probably because we can't know for sure, that it's mostly psychological. Because I think the technical and tactical, physical and social isn't really an element. So again, the whole reason why I go through this is really just to be able to ask, not necessarily you one question, but if I was standing in front of 25 Premier League players, 25 academy players who might be the same age as the guys in the middle, my question would be, okay, if in the European Championships, with the best players around Europe, if possibly up to 70% and maybe 100% of the reason why Iceland can beat England is psychological, how much of your week are you consciously deciding to improve the mental side of your game? And whether I'm saying it in a room like this, with a whole range of people in the room, or whether I'm saying it in front of a Premier League team, I genuinely get the same kind of answer, and that's, so how much are you improving the mental side of your performance? I'm going to start like kicking the ground. So most people aren't getting anything on it. And that point, I'm like, that's a bad thing because you're not working on it, but it's also a good thing because a lot of players get to a certain standard or perform at a certain level and generally have no idea about how to improve or how to work on this aspect of the game. So that really is an opportunity to go, well, imagine you're already performing at this level. Imagine if you added some really helpful, really constructive psychological or mental aspects of performance. That can be quite powerful. So, I want to show you something, because we've got just over 5-10 minutes left. And it's really probably the most, how can I say this? Probably the most powerful, probably the most impactful thing I've ever learned in my life. Okay? I learned this when I was 25, so 15 years ago. Long time ago, I was virtually halfway through my career of like 16 years professional. I learned this halfway through it. I wish I had learned it at the start. I wish I had learned it when I was your age, especially the younger ones in the room. Anyway, all the thinking cycle does is it explains how your psychology impacts your life. So my psychology impacts my life, your psychology will impact your life. So, quick question. Can someone tell me something we're doing 24 hours a day? Breathing, you keep the breathing going. Don't want breathing to stop at any stage, keep that going. But that's not the answer I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Yes. But have you done this session before? Why do you think you know the right answers? Okay. Yes. So we are thinking 24 hours a day. So it's really interesting because this area is all on psychology, and it's almost like if you've ever thought about psychology, some people just think it's quite complicated. It's really not. It's really very simple. It's almost as if psychologists sort of try and make it more complicated. But like psychology's wasted on psychologists basically. But like France, beautiful country. Anyway, but the whole point is, as we're thinking 24 hours a day, not my research because I'm not clever enough to do it, but academics have researched that how we think will drive how we feel. You really have done this session before, haven't you? Absolutely. So how we think is going to drive how we feel. So whatever situation we go into, whatever we do in our lives, whatever we're thinking about, that is going to drive how we feel. So I'll give you a little example. Right, boys, let me give you an example of this. So let's take, say, for instance, this session in this room, okay? So tell me what your name is. That's a really difficult question. I know you have to think about that. So just tell me straight. If I ask you, you
It's
give
going
me
to be difficult now
straight
for you
away.
to pronounce, so.
Okay, go on. Tell me what your name is.
Ethir.
Ethir? Okay, perfect. Okay, so if Ethir walked into this room and he's having these kind of thoughts about this session, he's walking in going, why do we have to do this psychology session? What a load of rubbish this is. I can't even understand this stupid little guy at the front of the room. He's really getting on my nerves and he keeps picking on me. Right? If Ethir's walking into the room and he's having those kind of thoughts, how might he think, or sorry, how might he feel in this room right now?
Depressed.
Depressed, okay, that was a bit strong and a bit fast. Okay, he might be a bit depressed on how the session's going. How else might he feel about this session right now? Bored, okay, that was a bit quick as well. Okay, so depressed and bored, anything else? If he's having those kind of thoughts of, do I have to be here? Depressed, bored, probably disinterested, disengaged, all of those probably less than helpful emotions. And yet, what's your name? Joel? Okay. But if Joel's walking into the room and Joel's going, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to go and listen to a former Premier League player today. He was only a little short hours like me. Maybe I might be able to help my career going forward. This is really good. I might be able to learn things from him. If Joel's coming into the session with that kind of attitude and those kind of thoughts, how do you think Joel might be feeling in this session right now? Happy, excited, interested. See the whole. It's amazing how two people can sit in the same room, listen to the same person, saying the same things, and have a completely different emotional experience. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Okay, anyway, let's go back to this the model, the thinking cycle. Again, as research has told us, how we feel going into any situation, whether it's walking on the pitch to go and play a match, whether it's walking into an exam to go and do your best, whether it's whatever it is, whatever you're going into, how you feel is going to drive what you do. Now, of course, what I've been doing for the last 25 years, I've been performing, because I've been performing on a football pitch, or when I come off the football pitch, I'm now performing in these sessions. And I get very quickly, get immediate feedback whether the session's going well, because people are laughing, or the session's an absolute disaster, because everyone's sitting there with their arms crossed. Like most people in the room. Anyway, so but the whole point is, how you think and feel is going to drive what you do. So, let's go back to if Theo's sitting there and he's thinking, what a waste of time this is. I really don't want to be here. He's depressed, he's bored, because he's in this room listening to this stupid little guy. What kind of behaviours is Theo going to do in this room right now?
Violent.
Bad.
Well, you might not be valid because obviously I'm stronger than you, so you're not going to do it. And I've been doing the weights in self-defense classes. Anyway, so but he's probably. But is he going to take any notes? Going to answer any questions?
No.
Absolutely not. And yet, Joel over here, completely opposite end of the spectrum. Joel's sitting here thinking, this could be good, this could be interesting, feeling much more motivated, much more engaged, probably going to be getting involved much more, probably going to take some credit, might come up and take a photograph of the thinking cycle so you can take it home and use it for whenever he goes away. You see how different it is? So if I just pause on this thinking cycle before I finish it, and I will finish in the next couple of minutes, one of the number one things most players come to speak to me about is confidence. Okay? Mostly players come to speak to me about confidence. And they'll come in and sit with me and they'll say, Paul, I'm really struggling with my confidence, can you help me? And very quickly I say, no, I can't. I can't help you with your confidence. And the reason why I say that is because it's a little bit like this. Just imagine, well, first of all, before we get that, where does confidence fit into that model? Do you think confidence is a thought?
Emotions.
Do you think confidence is an emotion? Or do you think confidence is a behaviour? So again, little sort of straw poll of answers. If you think confidence is a thought, please raise your hand. Just one or two. If you think confidence is an emotion, please raise your hand. If you think confidence is a behaviour, please raise your hand. Okay. Again, there might be a right answer. I'm just going to give my opinion. I personally think confidence is an emotion. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that you feel confident if you're walking onto the field of play, or you feel unconfident. That's how I think it is. But as we realise from the thinking cycle, where do all of our emotions come from?
The brain.
Our brains or our thoughts, exactly. But effectively, if all of our confidence comes from us, which is happening here, but this is what happens. This is the practical example of what happens. A player will come in and say to me, Paul, can you help me with my confidence? I'll say, no, I can't. Because this is what players are doing. They'll go and play a game on the Saturday, and then after the finish of the game, they'll go in and see the coach on the Monday morning, and they'll just say, they'll go, imagine this is a remote control for your confidence. This is what the players metaphorically do. They go, Coach, here it is. They go, Coach, how did you think I played on Saturday? And the coach will go, or the coach could go, Paul, I thought you were brilliant. I thought you were the best player on the pitch. You're going to be starting my game, first game on the team sheet next week. I walk away from that remote control. My confidence is gone. I'm like, I'm feeling brilliant. Great, let's go. Okay, I go home with my mum, and I say to my mum, Mum, you came to watch me play. How did you think of it? And she's like, get to your room, you were terrible. I'm like, shit. I come back and I'm like really, really low on confidence. And then this is what I do afterwards. I go, here's social media. Here's social media. What do you think about me? Social media, what do you think? Do you think I'm a good player? Do you think I'm a bad player? Do you think I'm a nice person? Do you think I'm a horrible person? Just tell me what you think. Can you imagine what kind of answers you get back from social media?
Lovely hair.
Thanks. They come back on social media, can give you all sorts of, and this is basically what players are doing. Not just players, people, children, kids, adults, women, men, 50-year-olds, 15-year-olds, people who've been married for years, people who are going into school on their first day. It's like people are walking around in life, giving everyone they meet the remote control for their confidence. Now, from a performance point of view, or from a life point of view, how conducive is it to having the kind of life that you want, to try and have the best level of performance if you keep giving the remote control for your confidence to everyone else? How helpful is that?
No.
Really, really not. And yet that's what people do. They're not physically doing it, but they're metaphorically doing it to everybody they meet. Because they're always looking for someone else to tell them they're a good player, or that they're a good person, or that they're a nice person. And this is what I do. And this is only me, and I'm not saying you have to be me. God forbid there's two of me running around this place. All I would say is, if this is a remote control for my confidence, who's going to keep this? Who's going to decide this? Who's going to dictate whether it goes up or down? Absolutely. Because ultimately, if confidence is an emotion, where is all my confidence going to come from? How I think. How I think. So I will decide whether I feel confident, or I will decide if I don't feel confident. But ultimately, I will do my best. So if I just sort of finish this off, because if I go out and play a game, and I didn't have the best performance, or I didn't have the best outcome, what am I going to do when I go home after the match? I'm going to go home and think about it. I'm going to think about my performance. Did I do well? Did I not do well? Did I play my best, or did I not play to my best? But ultimately, I will decide, or I'll think in ways about me of how that's going to help me in the future, or whether it doesn't. And if you were like me, and I was a young kid whenever I used to do this, until I saw the thinking cycle, I'd have a bad performance, and then after the game I'd go home, and you think I was in a happy mood or in a bad mood? I'd beat myself up, and it wasn't nice to be around for people I was living with, or people I saw, but I didn't know any better. That's just what it did. And then I saw this, and I thought, this is how humans function. This is how people across the world, whether you're from America, whether you're from Ireland, whether you're from Australia, this is how you function. And if you can understand that you decide whether you feel confident or not, you decide whether you feel happy or not, you decide whether you feel content or not in your life, stressed, all of these frustrated, all of these different emotions. Because actually, can anyone really, really frustrate you?
Your wife.
I haven't met your wife, so I don't know. But, and on a serious point, Tim, it's really interesting that you say that, because ultimately, and in almost like in a theoretical sense, can your wife stress you out or frustrate you?
No.
Who does that?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, if more people knew this, more people would have less levels of stress in their life, less levels of frustration, more levels of happiness, more levels of contentment, more levels of fulfillment, because ultimately who's going to choose it?
You.
And this is the simplest way I can ever describe this. That this isn't about football, soccer, sport, school. This is just about life. This is just about how you function. And I didn't learn this till I was 25, but honestly, when I learned this, this was the most important thing I've ever learned in my life. And I'm not trying to say that I'm some sort of, robot. I don't get up like some sort of, really positive, happy clappy person, like backflip down the corridor, high five the cat, run out the door. I'm not like that. But all I'm saying is, when I get up, has anyone ever had that thing we call Monday morning feeling? Even youngsters in the room are telling me they've had Monday
You
morning.
used to have it on the Saturday morning.
I'd have it on a Saturday morning, Rob. So Robbie used to pick me up to go and bring me to a match every Saturday morning because I was terrible at getting up in the morning. I was terrible at understanding who was in control of this. Because I was always thinking, oh, it's because my mum wants me to do this. It's because I have to get here and I have to do this. But ultimately, once I learned that, I realised, see that whole Monday morning feeling? Because for some people, Monday morning doesn't start on Monday morning. When does Monday morning feeling start?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. And for some people, it doesn't just last the Monday morning. How long does it last for? Probably like till Friday afternoon, about 3 o'clock. Now, and again, I'm not judging people, and that's the last thing I'm trying to do. All I want to do is just share some things, and if it helps you, brilliant. If it doesn't help you, that's fine too. All I would say is that that is the most important thing I've learned, because even if on a Monday morning I wake up, and last Monday morning I woke up at 5 o'clock because I needed to go and be somewhere. I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you don't always feel great when you get up, but very quickly something in here shifted, because I went from, okay, I'm up at 5 o'clock, okay, but let's stick on a bit of music, let's get a cup of tea, whatever it is that makes you into a slightly different angle, because I know that I have to get this right so that I can have enough motivation, enough dedication, enough desire, enough focus to go and behave and perform in my life, because I've decided what kind of outcomes I want in my life. Some people just go through life and they never even think about where they want to go, what they want to do, how they want to do it, how they want to be. And I'm not judging people. All I'm saying is if you never decide or never think about what you actually want to have as an outcome in your life, how are you ever going to get it? So it's great for the youngsters in the room to think about this stuff really. And I'm not saying you need to have a sort of 25-year plan. But it does help if you have some sort of focus, some sort of idea of what you'd like to do, even if it's just over the next 24 hours, 7 days, month, whatever it is. Does that make sense? Because sometimes when you try and explain it, it can be slightly elaborate. I really don't want to do that. The whole point is to try and make it as simple as possible. Okay. Tim, I think that probably should do us, because that's probably more than enough for what we're going to talk about. And that's really just a summary of what it is. It's not what you're thinking about that's crucial, it's how you're thinking about what you're thinking about that's crucial. It's not what you're thinking about that's crucial, it's how you're thinking about what you're thinking about that's crucial. Can anyone try and break that down, simplify that probably slightly complicated statement? It's not what you're thinking about that's crucial, it's how you're thinking about what you're thinking about that's crucial.
Put a positive spin on things.
Well, and the reason why, Paul, I haven't actually used the word positive in this whole section is because I don't think it's generally just about being positive.
Yeah.
I would say instead of having positive emotions, like try and feel all happy and and euphoric and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying have helpful emotions, or constructive emotions, or effective emotions. Because there might be actually sometimes, I'll give you an example, one of the outcomes I've had over the last couple of years, is that I've done quite a lot of training. So my training level's consistently been pretty good over the last 10 years. But my weight's gone like this, right? My weight's gone from like 72, 73 kilos up to 81, 82 kilos. So it's a big range, so I don't like the fact that my weight's been going like this. But I've been training a lot. I just haven't been keeping the same consistency in that. So one of the outcomes was I was really unhappy with my weight. So one of the emotions I got was I actually got frustrated with my weight. So that's not necessarily a positive emotion, but for me it was a really effective emotion. Because I got so frustrated that I was going to do something about it. So the outcome was I was putting on weight, and then I was losing it, and then I was putting it on, and then I was losing it. So I thought, do you know what? I need to do something for my diet. I need to do something, and I need to do a change in my diet. So I gave up eating sweets and treats and chocolate and ice cream and biscuits and crisps and cookies and everything else.
Mickey D's.
And what?
And Mickey D's.
And Mickey D's. So for the last 18 months, I haven't eaten all that kind of stuff. And it's just purely because I was so frustrated with the outcome of my life that I needed to do something about it. So something changed in here, and I said, I'm not prepared to eat that anymore. And now I have a much more consistent diet. So it's like a really, really simple example of how it works. Anyway, Tim, I think that's probably loads and loads of information. Got about 15 minutes left because I know there's a lot of questions, especially from that middle row of the boys answering, especially around Ronaldo as well. But
Oh yeah, that'll be it.
let's call it a day on that one.
Yeah, so first of all, show appreciation for her presentation. I thought it was great. And we're going to do something quite nice. We'll do a wee bit of a Q&A. So if anybody has questions for Paul, anything on the presentation here, on psychology, or from obviously Paul's playing days, because he's played at such a high level in the Premier League and internationally. So who's going to be first off?
The questions. I know you had about 45 questions during the presentation, so you want to kick us off with any, or any of the parents at the back, or yes, Gretchen.
So when you're going out onto the pitch, and for some reason you're not feeling great about what you're going to do, maybe you don't want to let the team down, you're feeling on yourself. How would you recommend that you kickstart those thoughts to turn that into something that takes away the...
Yeah. Okay. So what I should have explained as well is, with the thinking cycle, this is one way of understanding how your mindset will help your kind of how you perform ultimately, and obviously how you perform every single week will determine whether you start the game or whether you don't start the game, whether you're the best player, whether you're the worst player. Another way that can be rehashed and rejigged, because there's so many different explanations for psychology, is some people can put it as the emotions are first. It's almost you're so annoyed or so frustrated or so hyped up or whatever it is that you have to then think about how you're feeling. So sometimes if you think about how you're feeling, you can then understand that you might need to either calm. So for instance, if you're feeling really, really nervous and really, really anxious before the game, then thinking about it, you might go, do you know what? It's not that I need to get excited for this game. I actually need to calm down. Maybe I just need to take a breath. Maybe I just need to sit down on the bench before the game and just have sort of 3 or 4. And maybe that could be a reason to break it down instead of being so excited. But one of the simplest things I ever got from one of my youth team coaches was, even if you're having a bad game, that should never affect how hard you work. And that's probably the easiest way to put it, because even if, I can't necessarily control whether I have a good touch every time, whenever I have a shot, whether I put it in the top corner or it hits the corner flag. So you can't always control what you do, but you can control how hard you work, how hard you run, how much closing down you do. Whether you give up on the pitch or whether you keep running. Whether you stop and have a little tantrum or whether you keep playing because you're a team player. So that's probably the easiest way. No matter whether you're feeling up for the game or not, that shouldn't affect how hard you can run. Okay? Let's go for a question with a guy with a bandana over his eyes so he's falling asleep in the middle of the class. Come on, talk to me. I'm probably never going to see you again in my life, so if you don't have a question for...
I was
Yes.
thinking, I was praying.
Say it again?
I was praying.
You were praying
Yeah.
For a question.
for a question? Go on.
So when you played against Ronaldo, did you think? It's not funny. Did you think he was good like at that time, or you didn't think you thought?
No, he was nothing special at all. So you got to think, he's only an 18-year-old kid, and I was 25 at the time, so
Is he better than you?
So you don't really think that a player, do you know what I'm saying? You don't look at an 18-year-old and go, oh, in 15 years' time you're going to be the best player in the world. All you see is this 18-year-old player and go, he has a bit of skill, he's a little bit quick, he's got, a few tricks.
You were probably thinking Van Nistelrooy was a better player.
I was
than McVeigh.
thinking Giggs is harder
Yeah.
to close down. I was
Yeah.
thinking Paul Scholes is harder to close down. I was thinking Roy Keane's tougher to play against. I was thinking Wayne Rooney's probably going to be a better player. I was thinking who was in goal? Tim Howard. I was thinking Rio Ferdinand. Cristiano Ronaldo was not in my thoughts. He was just who I was playing against.
I
But
bet you wish you traded jerseys with him though, right?
you tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I think that was a good point that you said about all the stepovers and
Yeah.
the story getting frustrated because
Yeah.
I'm a massive United supporter and back at that time, it's obviously you were only 2. He was one of the most frustrating players because he checked back, as you said, by the time he got the ball and the Nistelrooy had his checkers run or he's going to be offside, and I think that was one of the big things that he worked so hard in his game was just the final product and his
I
decision
think we're
making.
actually talking about him not being good enough to make it at
Yeah.
one stage when he was really young.
Yeah.
They didn't think we were going to have to put him out alone or something. Or,
Well, that was the same as Gareth Bale.
yeah.
So Gareth Bale, whenever he was at Spurs, had such a mediocre start under Harry Redknapp that they were going, well, okay, in 15 years' time or 10 years' time, we're looking at Gareth Bale and saying one of the best players in the world, great talent. But if you're not performing on the pitch, no one's saying he's a great talent if he doesn't score any goals and doesn't create any assists and doesn't work hard and is not affecting the game. So really, whenever you see Ronaldo now, it's because of all these times, like Van Nistelrooy, Roy Keane, I think pinned him up against the wall one time and was like, if you don't put that ball in first time, I'm going to, threaten them. Because that's what the players need. The players you need to know what your other players in your team are going to do. And if you keep saying, okay, well, the opposition doesn't know, but also if your team doesn't know, then that's a problem too. You need to have that understanding.